Dear friend who lives beside my world, I am writing from a small desk where the screen glows like a second dawn. I hope your evening is kind and your room is quiet enough to let a new idea walk in and take a seat. I will keep my voice steady and close because I want you to hear this as if I am in the chair across from you. In my city, we begin each day by checking our build notes, and our bodies greet us the way a familiar device greets a trusted user. Every morning I choose who I need to be for the tasks ahead, and the choice feels ordinary the way you might choose shoes by the door. Today, I compiled lungs for smoke from the northern farms and skin that filters the harsh noon light. By lunch, I will switch to a metabolic mode that saves energy and lets me stay sharp without a heavy meal. I know this sounds bold, yet to us it is simply part of the workday rhythm. There is a port at the end of my street with clean benches and a soft hum of diagnostics. We call them morph ports, and they feel like libraries where bodies borrow what they need and return it in good order. My neighbors line up with coffee and a patience learned from years of small patch days. A teacher requests stronger vocal cords for a choral unit, while an arborist installs grip pads that love the bark of old trees. A nurse bakes in an extra set of tactile sensors to catch subtle fevers in a dim ward. None of this is spectacle for us, because the spectacle left when the risks were managed and the rules were agreed upon. We learned those rules in hard seasons, and I still remember one of them too well. On a summer night, a driver update for aquatic respirators bricked half a district of gill modules. Taxis lined the canal with their doors open, and strangers carried strangers two at a time to the nearest port. I carried a child who kept saying he was not afraid, but his hands said otherwise on my sleeve. The repair teams arrived with lantern drones and a quiet focus that I still dream about. It became the case study that split our world into a before and an after. After that night, all patches required 2 independent attestations and a rollback checkpoint you can trigger with a single breath pattern. We changed procurement so that essential traits could never sit behind a luxury paywall. We built commons kits for baseline needs, so that poor families did not choose between rent and a safe recompile. That policy sounds dry when I write it, yet it tastes like relief in the mouth of a tired parent. I know because I am the one who signs the consent forms at the clinic where I volunteer on weekends. I bring tea for the guardians who wait while their kids choose their first school shapes. We teach the kids that consent is not a single button, but a long conversation that keeps going even when you think it is settled. We show them the contract page that defines time, scope, and a fast cancel path with no shame attached. The page looks simple, but it is the heart of our piece. No one may force a morph here, and no one may block a willing morph without clear risk and an appeal window. I suspect this will surprise you less than some of the small cultural habits that grew around these laws. For instance, our school uniforms define function instead of form. On field days, children choose running calves or climbing hands, and no teacher blinks. We still have a day each term where the class agrees to be as near to baseline as they can stand. We call it the quiet profile, and it is not a rule, it is a ritual of empathy. The quiet profile helps friends remember that identity is more than a clever feature list. You would also see our faith communities walking their own paths. Some keep ancestral shapes for seasons of prayer and speak of the shell as a letter from the past. Others celebrate pilgrimages, where believers take on forms that match virtues like patience or generosity. I have stood in a hall where an elder congregation compiled luminous pads along their ribs to feel the rhythm of shared breath. The air sounded like a low tide and a chorus all at once, and I kept my hands folded so I did not disturb it. You might ask about sport, because that question comes quickly in letters from your side. We do not speak of fairness the old way anymore, because the old way failed both talent and joy. We classify by capability bands and by mission profiles, and by the idea of honest play. Baseline leagues still exist, and they are treated like heritage gardens that remind us what courage looked like when tools were few. I run in a social club that welcomes mixed bands with posted limits, and we keep 2 finish boards on the wall. One board rewards speed, and the other rewards craft, such as the cleanest pacing or the best team support. The second board gets the loudest cheers, and it feels right. I want to tell you a softer story as well, because systems mean little without ordinary hearts. I once dated a woman who loved ocean currents, and she asked if I would add a photic stripe so she could see me from far off in the dusk. I thought it was sweet until I learned that the stripe never faded and carried a maker tag that I did not want near my collarbone. We argued, and then we learned to sit in the kind of silence that respects the boundary and reaches for tender language. In the end, I kept my own skin, and she compiled a beacon motif on her upper arm, and we met in the middle like people do. That small lesson saved me later when I cared for my grandmother. My grandmother liked one face and one hand and one way to sit at the window with her birds. The clinic offered her a graceful cartilage patch for her knee, and she thanked them and declined. I walked her home slowly and let her tell the same story about the bread shop that used to smell like oranges. I learned that choice includes the choice to stop choosing. I learned that dignity includes an anchor that does not move, even when the room around it dances. We have a phrase for that anchor, and we call it the home form. Each citizen can set a home form that vendors must respect and that medics must preserve unless life is at stake. Mine is simple and readable by old friends, so they keep recognizing me when we cross in the rain. The way we buy and sell shapes is another river that never rests. Some companies rent traits under subscription and call it agile embodiment. Open collectives make free kits for the public good and dare the big houses to block them. The right to repair movement began with a broken fingertip sensor and turned into a decade of legal work. You can hear arguments about license fees in any cafe near a port, and the baristas know the cases by heart. I am not immune to the pull of a gleaming premium suite, and I have paid for features I do not need. Then I spent a month back on a commons kit, and the sky looks clear again. Crying changed shape too, because faces mean little when faces are drafts. We moved away from fixed prints and fixed scans to proofs that ride inside the body state itself. The proofs are math you can carry and show without revealing your secrets. It feels strange at first to greet a baker with a proof that says only I am me, and I am allowed to pick up this loaf. Yet after a while it feels safer than the old habit of trusting a picture. We did face serious trouble from covert morph crews who use silent skins to block scent and shadow. Our police had to learn restraint because every escalation can be copied by the people you fear. We now fund civic counter teams who test patches in public and publish reports in language a teenager can read. It is slower than a raid and better than a quiet rage that eats a city from the edges. You may wonder what happens to memory when a person can step between so many forms. To us, memory is not a museum with glass doors, but a field that grows new paths when feet keep walking. We take snapshots before a big compile and store them like old postcards. When I roll back, I do not lose the days I walked with wings or with heavy arms built for stone. I keep the story of those days the way you keep a scar you do not regret. There is a cafe on 4th that hangs a chalkboard question near the till. The question changes each week, and it is always some version of what would you compile tomorrow and why. Answers range from gentle to wild, and the gentle ones are my favorite. One person wants a shoulder that does not ache before bedtime. Another wants fingertips that do not go numb on cold mornings, so they can write letters to a pen pal in a different world. Someone asks for ears that catch the first call of migrating cranes, so they can wake the village softly. I have noticed that many of us do not chase power when we are asked softly what we want. We chase closeness, or craft, or relief. Maybe that is how freedom finds its balance. In the clinic, a boy once requested a tail so he could learn better balance while skateboarding. The team said yes with conditions, and the parameters were clear, and the smile was stronger than any elder lecture. That same afternoon, a lobbyist tried to push a luxury tale with embedded ads, and the city council laughed them out of the room. We are far from perfect, and we earn our order by staying noisy. When the noise quiets too much, it is time to check who is not being heard, and which port is a bus ride too far. We audit travel costs to ports the way you might audit fire hydrants. If the nearest safe compile is more than a modest walk from a low-income block, we build a new port without debate. It is cheaper than regret and cleaner than an apology after harm. We also run neighborhood review nights where anyone can bring a question about a new trait. The format is kind and strict, and everyone must say what could go right before they say what could go wrong. I leave those nights with a quiet pride in ordinary people. They are not experts, and they still ask the question that matters, which is who benefits and who pays. I have not spoken yet about love in a world like this, and that is strange because love is why I write at all. Love here is an art of reading updates with patience. Your partner may change height before dinner, or breathe mint air when you expect vanilla, and you learn to greet the person, not the feature list. There are couples who set calendar events named home forms for date nights. There are others who trade the same home form for the length of a holiday, so photos look like a shared album. The variety makes a visitor dizzy for 2 days, and then it feels like a city market full of ripe choices. My friend Noor teaches a course called Courtesies of Shape, and I sometimes guest speak for the module on surprise. Surprise is not a prank here, because bodies hold history and history holds wounds. Surprise is a gift that must come wrapped in consent and in the option to pause. I have misjudged this, and I have said sorry, and I will do so again, because people are not clean scripts. We break, and we mend, and we learn to label changes with a care that does not kill joy. At the port there is a sign that says kindness is cheaper than a rollback. I think about that when I am rushed, and I breathe until the hurry falls away. You might also ask what our funerals look like in a place where bodies are so flexible. We still die, and we still gather, and we still say the short words that stop the world. Families often compile a quiet shadow of the person for one evening only. The shadow is not a copy, and not a trick, and not a cure. It is a pattern of posture and breath, and a favorite smile recorded with consent in the healthy season. The shadow stands next to the photos and the soup, and it lets people say thank you to the shape that held so many days. After the guests go home, the pattern dissolves like frost on stone, and the house sleeps. I do not know if that would comfort you, or disturb you. I only know it comforts my aunt, and that is enough for me. I promised earlier to return to the night of the bricked gills because every reform I described grew from that dark water. The inquiry found a chain of small neglects rather than a single villain. We changed sign-off ladders, we funded independent testing, and we made the emergency rollback gesture public knowledge. Schools teach it next to first aid and fire drills. When the sirens rose again last winter for a different issue, I watched a street of strangers shift to the gesture in one breath. The ports handled the surge, and the city exhaled as one large chest would exhale after a cough. I like knowing we can move together when fear tries to make us small. I know you think a lot about identity, and I want to answer a question you did not ask. You might worry that we lose ourselves when we rewrite the shell each day. I worried about that too, when I was young and loud and eager to try every catalogue page. What I learned is simple and a little dull, which is that identity lives where promises live. When I tell you I will be there at 6, I show up whether I wear stone arms or song lungs. When I tell my grandmother I will bring oranges, I bring oranges even if my hands are new and clumsy. The shell is a tool, the promise is the person. This is why we protect the home form, and this is why we publish vendor audits for the public to read. It keeps promises from being rented to the highest bidder. I hear your debates on your side about makeup and surgery and doping, and I recognize our early years. You are already holding a small handle of the door we opened all the way. If you choose to open it further, I hope you begin with the language of consent and the budget of care. Begin with the child who needs a quieter body to learn, and the worker who needs safer grip to go home whole. Begin with the elder who wants one unbroken face for the photos on the shelf. If you begin there, the rest will follow with fewer bruises. You may also envy our wings and our fins and our chrome noons, and I will not judge you for that. I envy you too from time to time. I envy the way couples in your world grow old in one single book of photographs. I envy the way friends learn every line on a familiar face and miss it before it is gone. We have our own version of that, but yours is purer in a way I cannot explain without breaking into poetry. I am trying not to use too many fancy words in this letter because I promised clarity and good sense. Still, I want to admit that longing moves both ways across our bridge. You might ask what I will compile tomorrow, and I will answer with something small. I will compile a better ear for low tones because my neighbor plays a bass that gets lost in my current range. I want to hear the shape of his practice the way he means it to be heard. It will change nothing in the headlines, and it will change everything in our stairwell. Before I close, I should return to that chalkboard question from the cafe. What would you compile tomorrow, and why? If the question scares you, then make it smaller until it fits in your pocket. Ask what hurts, and ask what would make work kinder, and ask what would help you keep a promise you already care about. Then answer with one simple trait you would borrow for a week, and one person who would smile because you borrowed it. If you ever visit my side, I will meet you at the port with a warm scarf and a patient guide. We will start with a tour of the safety rails because safety is the first love language here. Then we will try something gentle, like snow grip for winter streets, or eyes that rest well during long reading. I will not rush you, and I will not point you at wings on the first day. I have learned that some dreams need the ground to feel trustworthy. I can already see the smile you will carry back to your world when you return to your home form. It will be the smile of someone who learned that freedom can be quiet and useful and kind. I will close now because the window is dimming and the cranes are calling north beyond the river. Please write back when you can and tell me what you would compile first if the choice were yours. Tell me also what you would never change, because that reveals a truer map of a person than any calendar of upgrades. I am grateful that our two worlds can pass messages like folded notes across a fence. May your night be gentle, and may your morning find you ready for the work you want to do. Your friend who lives in the world beside yours, and who keeps a chair by the door for visiting ideas, sets down her pen now. Thank you for staying with my letter until the final line. If this message moved you, please tap like and subscribe, and leave a comment so I can learn what stayed with you. If you wish to support the channel, please use the QR code at the bottom right or the link in the video description. In the description, you will also find links to other works from a very different series that you might enjoy next. I am glad you were here tonight, and I hope you will join me again for the next story from the world beside yours.